Welcome to the podcast where we discuss all matters financial planning and investing. This content contains general information only and may not be relevant to everyone. Please contact our office to make sure and determine if this is relevant for you. Hi and welcome to the podcast. I'm David Loughnan and today we're talking about really the 10-year early retirement plan and can you do it? And today I'm joined by my co-host Cole. How are you, Cole?
Thanks, Dave. Good, thank you.
That's good. And what comes to mind, so one of the things we deal with a lot of the time is obviously everyone we deal with is really building up to retirement. And what I think everybody's retirement looks a little bit different, what they want, what they need, all those type of things. What have you seen that people really want when they get into retirement?
Obviously, everyone's just trying to have enough income to live comfortably, to live the lifestyle that they become accustomed to. But there's a few steps before that. We spend all our lives working, and then at some point we're going to stop working. And it's like come across people in the past, and you ask them, "What does retirement look like?" And I might go play golf. Like, well, don't play it now. I think you're going to like it in 10 years' time or 15 years' time. So it's understanding. Yeah, like you said, everyone's unique. It's like what does their retirement look like?
I find that it's like we ask a lot of people, what does it look like? They've never really sat down with themselves to understand what that potentially could look like. We're in so much of our life of accumulation phase. We're just so used to working and earning money. We haven't thought about, or a lot of people haven't thought about how to actually replace that earned income, which is obviously the wages and so forth these days. To replace like $100,000 per annum, you need a lot of assets to actually replace that. It's not so simple, but I haven't heard anybody tell me that they want to do less when they're retired. Have you heard that?
No. Okay.
It's more like, you know what, I want to be able to, if not improve my lifestyle, I think that one thing, that safety, security, and not worrying about money ever again comes up all the time. What's one thing that comes up with you all the time? What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, you're right. You always think when you're speaking to people about what retirement looks like and what they want to do, and it's always comes back to, I don't want to have to worry about money, or I don't want to have to rely on Centrelink or Social Security. So it's basically, and they want to live, and most people want to travel. Seems to be a big thing. I want to travel. So it's like, so how does it look like? Where do you want to go? And it's about, and they don't want to feel guilty about spending. So like you said, if you're working every week, fortnight, month, you're getting an income. So now suddenly when you're relying on your own assets, people don't want to think twice, about spending. They don't want to feel guilty about it. So it's having that peace of mind that they can do what they want, knowing that there's
doing what you want when you want, and like being able to upgrade the car still. I find a lot of people want to have that position where they can still help their kids a lot. Comes up these days because a lot of people are worried about their kids coming through with the cost of property and all those types of things, and just the cost of everything in general. But I know one thing potentially down the track, like grandkids and so forth. I would like to be able to have more time to be able to do more things. Like, I'm pretty obsessed in my job and work and so forth. Having those things, teenagers, kids in their mid-20s and one day, but also being able to have the life we're accustomed to. For me, it is that travel. If I could be doing that one thing that I really enjoy, me and my wife, we love going around traveling and exploring new things and not worrying about anything and just doing whatever. So that's, for some people, that's important. Some people isn't. It's really unique as long as it's into the next part of this, but once you actually work out what you would like to continue doing or what you would like to do, generally you're not going to start up something whole brand new. I just asked my wife, she feels in her time quite easily now. She doesn't want to go or do any work if she didn't have to. Then it comes back to the identity. Even when you can stop, a lot of people keep working, so they will transition or do something a little bit different, which I find unique. So it comes down to the question is like, what have you found most people really need to build up to actually fund a retirement?
It's like you said, it's quite unique. It's like I've come across people who, you talk about travel, and through their work, they've done all their travel in their working lives. And when they come to retire, they don't need to travel. So it's really like an individual thing. It's really like governments put out things, what they say, some figures around what's a comfortable lifestyle for a single couple, etc. But it's as long as a piece of string, like you said, it's really unique. But most people, like a common number comes up to anywhere between $80,000 to $100,000 a year, where people say, I think I need that sort of income, depending obviously what they earn now and what their lifestyle's like. It is a unique thing, and that's trying to understand before you get retirement is what are your expenses, what's your cost of living now? Because I find that when you retire, your expenses don't really change that much in terms of, okay, you may not have a mortgage, you don't have kids or school fees, but you still eat the same. And it might even go up a bit because now you want to travel. As you get older, our health goes up, expenses go up. So it doesn't really change that. I know people who go, I earn 100,000 now and when I retire, I only need 50,000 income. It's like, it doesn't really suddenly all of a sudden half.
I don't think that. And it's interesting how, depending on what age, when you do retire, how much that 80 or 100 grand per annum, how long are you going to be active enough to be able to spend that as well? Because you don't last forever. There's two guarantees in life.
Exactly.
None of them's not to live forever. How much money do you actually need? I think a great guide is for a lot of people, if they got rid of their mortgage and got rid of kids' expenses and so forth, generally when they're going into retirement, they don't need to fund those things.
Yes.
And just working out what they're spending now and if that would be enough. So that gives them a point of view. I always find, because it's hard for a lot of people to realize that, that mortgage will be gone one day. And those kids' expenses hopefully will be gone one day as well. And what does it actually mean? What do they need? Because their perception of what they need, it's just really an unknown. It's not worked out. So that's where it's so interesting, even about the age pension and so forth. And a lot of people qualify that from sort of 67 onwards. But there's not many people I know that says, I want to work to 67. So if you want to work less than that, obviously building up super and those or different asset classes and the age pension can help. But there's a lot of people we deal with will never get the age pension in their lifetime and they can fund themselves. So what assets do you find most people have started to build or what they should be building?
Again, it depends on that retirement age. Obviously, super compulsory. So everyone's got super built up some. If they employed or self-employed people perhaps haven't focused on that too much.
That's an old trap, that one.
Put it back into the business. And then home is another one. So you're not going to retire. Well, you're not going to rely on your home to fund your retirement. But a lot of people, once the kids have gone, etc., that home becomes too much, too big for them. And so they downsize. I suppose the basic one is super because we've all got it, or most people have it.
Yeah, and I think it's a unique question, and also for anyone to answer themselves, depending on their situation, it comes into. Because some people are asset rich; they might have an expensive house, they might be a business owner, and they haven't put money into super over or shares or anything like that. So how they're going to fund their retirement is really downsizing and selling their business. There's a whole bunch of things that can happen around that. Where majority of people are employed through their life, that's the majority of people. I have been getting some super, and if that's probably their number one funder, because apart from paying down the mortgage, most people haven't bought an investment property or got a share portfolio. That's probably the main group of people that if they just added more money into super over time, that could be a hell of a lot of money for them. And then you've got the people that they can transition out of working, and if their needs drop, some people actually work forever.
Some people do. Like, you speak to people and they go, I actually really love my job. And I don't think, a lot of people go, they don't think they think they'll get bored in retirement. So they say, I will never not do anything. Like I said, whether they've got a hobby now that they could monetize in retirement, so they've got more time. So a lot of people say, I don't think there'll be a point where I'm not just sitting back and traveling and doing nothing.
It comes into it, but I think with what you should be focusing on, I think it's a unique question, and it's got its own answers, and everyone's a little bit different. I'm a fan of just sort of everything. Make sure your debt's down. So if you did need to downsize your house, you could. If you own it. I'm a big fan of building out your superannuation as much as you humanly possible, because that will be generally for most people a really good funder. If you've got a business really 5 years out from sale and so forth, and just understanding what the tax consequences around that. And there's a lot of favorable things where most small business owners can actually sell their businesses tax-free. In a lot of circumstances, not all, but obviously get some tax advice around that. And then you've got some people have shares and things like that. And then the big one is there is a percentage of the population out there will have investment property. And when those assets are sold, and generally they are sold because they're not very good providing income, they're sold at a favorable tax advantage once you get a little bit later in life. So there's some main ones I find that comes in. But do you find people just stop dead and stop working, or what have you found that people?
A lot of people do that. Yeah, they do stop dead. But then I think like over the years, other people where they do that, and then it's in a tongue in cheek, and it's a bit funny. And the husband worked all his life, and the wife would part time, and then they'll say to you, "Was like, well, I don't want him at home anymore," because suddenly you go from you work 40, 50 hours a week to nothing, and suddenly it's like, what do I do? You almost get bored. So it is I always say to people, like, obviously funding your retirement's important, but it's actually, what are you going to do in retirement with your time, because it's people can get almost depressed because they've got suddenly they have not no value. They think they're not productive. That's an important part of retirement as well.
Yeah.
Is understanding, like I said, no point saying I'm going to take up golf. Well, we don't like it now. We don't play it now.
That's me. I don't mind having golf once or twice a year, but it's not something I'm going to do every week. When my dad, he loves it 3 times a week religiously. Get very upset if he hasn't played. So I think it's for everyone. It's I have got a lot of clients in the position where they can retire, and I've found that they'll go around one more time, 2 more times. And some of them are your retirement clients that we do have. A lot of them, they're the happiest clients. I know they're very happy in their retirement. They pop in and very chirpy and so forth. Best thing they've ever done. But I think building up to it, and everyone that and this is just from my own experience from my clients, that as they retire, it does take them a while to understand that, and also understand their money is not building at that stage. Generally, most people, it either stays still or it'll be coming backwards a bit. So once you take out that earned income, it's a different feeling, and just understanding how it all works. It's definitely a transition.
And that could be why some people don't go all in and give it all up, because is that fear of going from having some income to having nothing, and that concern about is their money going to last them, and so they slowly dip their toes into it. But I think and that's where it all comes about planning and forward planning that, because if you get to that point where if you know what you need to live, I suppose it's the most important thing, what expenses are, building up your assets, have some comfort around that what you've built up is going to cover that income over normal life expectancy. It may give them some comfort in then taking that leap. And like you said, once they do it, it's like...
Yeah, it's such an interesting concept. And I think there's so many people that are really scared about retirement when they don't need to be. With what you said a second ago, just the planning. If you have a plan, and this is a 10-year challenge plan, like it's not overnight. Right? Most people don't retire overnight. But when we first speak to someone, I'll say, when do you want to retire? And they'll say yesterday. Not really, but over a 10-year period, I think you can change a lot of things, and a lot of opportunities come up, and just understanding it. And I just think because we're in such an accumulation phase for our life, we really need to plan it. We need to think about it, because it is very stressful, and it's your work and your contribution is generally made up of who you believe you are, your identity, and you will do everything you can to stay within your identity, because it's like who you are, who you believe you are. So on the final thoughts, what's like your rapid fire to make sure you can retire in 10 years?
One is understanding, knowing what retirement looks like, understanding what your expenses are, give an idea of what income you need in retirement, and then putting a plan in place. If we, point A today, we work out what we need to be at point B to give us income, and then having a plan over the next 5, 10 years, whatever it is, to get to that point B.
Yeah, I think it's really well said. For me, it's just plan. 100% plan, build out the assets you need to, get rid of the stuff you don't, really focus and hone in what you actually need to do. Don't know what they need to do. Once you know what you need to do, really stick with that plan right through and see it through. And it will, generally things will have to adapt and so forth. But once you see that through, you'll get to a position, everyone wants to be able to I always talk about financial independence. Most people want to get to the position where they can. Doesn't mean they have to.
That's right.
Just means they can. So if you're in your early 40s or late 40s or early 50s, like this 10-year thing, it's important, because I know most people would like to have the choice to be able to retire at 60. Most people are okay with working. Not everyone loves it. Some people do love it, will work forever. But having that choice at 60 years old, but it doesn't happen by chance. There's only very few out of the hundreds of clients we have, there's only 1 or 2 that have come in the position where they could retire or have retired. Do you know what I mean? So there's 300 others that are looking to build up to retirement. And as we go, and every single one of them have that plan, and we are working it, and they're on their different tracks and different courses. But without that, I know for a fact that it'll be scared. They wouldn't feel their potential. And there would be a lot of roadblocks in their way, which no one wants. You know, we're going to enjoy our life. We'll put it on here to enjoy it, shape it how we want to. But if you plan, I think you can have everything.
Planning is important.
Planning's important. So thanks for your time again today, Cole. And if anyone needs some help with that, please, just reach out from our website or any links, and feel free to subscribe to our podcast and let anyone know about it. Appreciate it. And look forward to chatting with you all next week.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Till next time.